Tate brothers. You guys hear about this? They finally got him. This time for realsies, it seems. After a whole bunch of bullshit cases that got held up or canceled for various reasons, they've been arrested for extradition to the UK. Romania fucked up a bunch of efforts to arrest them, and then the United Kingdom went after it, but then the Tate brothers moved over to America to avoid that, so they had to refile. But it seems now they've finally been arrested for extradition. This one might actually keep.
Come over here by me.
Ought to arrest him for looking like that. What are those pants? It's...
Back up. Back up.
I can't believe how he looks. How's the BBC News covering this? Gleefully, I assume.
The British boxers turned social media influencers Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan have been arrested in the United States. It's in connection with a UK police investigation into a number of alleged
Is there a way to call someone gay as an insult while still being an ally? I think that the underlying tendency you're critiquing here is that over time, performative chauvinists have shifted away from traditional misogyny, or maybe not traditional misogyny, that's not the right term. People like the Tate brothers used to be intertwined in the lives of women. That was their job. But now they are purely homosexual. Sorry, not homosexual, homosocial and asexual. Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate don't advocate for, solicit, or really engage with a world that involves women. They is basically explicitly said they're not even interested in sex. They perform not being interested in sex. This would be like a good, I guess, accompaniment or sort of contrast to James Bond. Like James Bond, the archetypal, like, gentleman chauvinist, right? Enjoys the company of women, takes them seriously, and has lots of sex with them and enjoys the sex. This is like the archetypal alpha male in like a historical context, going back hundreds of years. Of course, there's variants. I'm not saying sexual politics were the same back in Victorian England as they are now, but like that's the historical template. People like Andrew and Tristan Tate are very, very unique and very like contemporary in the sense that they basically advocate for a complete removal of women from your life. They constantly talk about how you don't want to listen to them, don't want to talk to them, don't want to make friends with them. Sex isn't even that good, whatever else. It's pure homosociality, which means that like it appears to be homosexual. In reality, they just despise women so much that it becomes embarrassing. There's a degree of like misogyny that is not embarrassing, and it's usually this like paternalistic chauvinism. Like I said, James Bond stuff. Like you can be kind of casually sexist in a way that still comes across as respectable. But in the, you know, ever expanding needs of social media algorithmic attention seeking, that's no longer enough. You don't get any attention for starting a YouTube channel and being like, take women seriously, but still understand that like you're the one in charge. Yeah, see? No one cares. Like, oh wow, novel stuff, groundbreaking. Only believe that for thousands of years. So you have to go on and be like, actually women are dogs and they're so boring and lame you don't even want to look at them. That's how you get attention. And the reason why that gets attention is because the average Tate fan has always been like a 13-year-old Eastern European. We're talking about guys who don't interact with women anyway. Most guys will grow up out of this. And they'll interact with women and they'll realize that like maybe they'll still be sexist, but they don't want to live a life without women because like, let's be real here. Who wants to live a life without women? You kidding me? Come on. It's ridiculous. Of course you want them. Don't be stupid. So the appeal of these guys, it's largely to people who don't really have a choice in interacting with women anyway because they're too young or socially awkward. I guess what I'm getting at is that what a lot of people call homosexuality is really just homosociality. When women are removed from the social like equation entirely, that's why you get stuff like this. Andrew Tate dressing like this. It's like a postmodern rejection of taste as a flex that you don't even need to appeal to women anymore. Like, I'm so detached from women as a social force that I can look like an idiot Keebler elf. Like I can look like this and it doesn't even affect my life, purely for the benefit of men. But it's not actually homosexuality. I mean, maybe it is. Does Tate dress for the female gaze? I'm banning you for 1 day because you just said the opposite of what I've been saying. You asked me, you're not listening. I'm banning you for a day because you're not listening. I'm saying the opposite. He performs for the male gaze. It's performative male gaze, dressing.
Offences. British prosecutors said that they were bringing further charges against the brothers, who were arrested by US Marshals in Miami on Saturday, in relation to allegations from 4 additional victims, and are now seeking their
It's very postmodern in a way, right? Like it's a modality. It is a kind of sexual and social politic that doesn't actually apply to the real world. Nobody in the real world actually lives like this. Like alpha male who hates being around women. This isn't a real thing. In real life, basically every guy, certainly heterosexual guys, likes being around women. There are very few examples of that not being the case. The only reason it wouldn't be the case is either you're so much of a misogynist that homosociality consumes your life, which is quite rare, or you're doing it performatively. Like it's very, in that Louis Theroux documentary on the manosphere, where he kind of drew attention to the fact that the who are those 2 black guys who are Nazis or whatever? You know what I'm talking about? The fuckwit. One of them's called like Muscle or something. Fresh and Fit. Thank you. Fit. Yeah. How like one of the stupider of the 2 is like very performatively misogynistic, but then he's kind of a bitch doormat to his girlfriend. Like the moment he and his girlfriend are together on camera, he's like, come on, go away. If the camera catches up next to each other, I'm going to look like a little bitch. And she's like, I think it'd be nice if you didn't flirt with other women. And he's like, okay, snookums, I'll consider it. You know what I'm talking about? This is what I mean by performative. It's a postmodern sexual politic that doesn't apply to the real world. It's kind of like, in a weird way, it's kind of like the male equivalent to performative political lesbians like Dworkin, who obviously wish they were lesbian, but like weren't. You know what I mean? The difference being, though, that Dworkin's performative lesbianism is largely, well, it's banal morally and intellectually interesting. Like, read some Andrea Dworkin. Smart lady, right? Whereas the Tate brothers are both, like, complete retards. So, women W again, I guess. Nick Fuentes said having sex with women is gay. Yeah, because Nick Fuentes is both homosocial and homosexual. So, in his case, it's actually not a LARP. Well, actually, that's not true. We all know that Nick Fuentes would love to be, like, a bitchy queer surrounded by cool girls who egg on his sociopathic tendencies. So the homosociality is still performative. I just don't believe in homosociality. I think that 99.99% of the time it's a LARP. The idea of a guy not liking being around women, I actually don't believe that. I think that it is a performative art that gets picked up by guys who want to convince themselves that they wouldn't like being around women in anyway because they aren't. Like, it is for the benefit of guys who are unlovable and don't spend time around women, so they want to convince themselves that it's actually not worth your time anyway. I don't think anyone with the opportunity to hang around women is performatively, like, genuinely moving away from it. What about the other way around? Oh, there are plenty of homosocial women. Men are, I'm real sorry about this one, folks. I'm not trying to do the whole man versus bear thing right now, but there are plenty of good reasons to be homosocial as a woman. In ways that don't really apply as if you're a guy. But that's a social construct. It doesn't have to be that way, you know?
Tradition. Both brothers have previously denied wrongdoing. Well, in the past hour, we've had a police update on the arrest of the brothers in the US. This is Assistant Chief Constable Karina Thomas from Bedfordshire Police.
In 2024, the CPS authorised 21 charges against Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate following our investigation into allegations of sexual offences dating back to 2012. Following the initial charges being authorised, we have continued to investigate further offences reported to both Bedfordshire Police and Hertfordshire Constabulary. As a result, 38 new charges in total have now been authorised against Andrew and Tristan Tate, bringing the total number of charges faced to 59. The charges relate to 7 victims, spanning a period from 2010 to 2017. Our officers have worked closely with the CPS and both national and...
Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, they're pretty bad. They're like rapist, sex traffickers. One of the charges against them is for child sexual abuse material. It's pretty bad. They're pretty bad. It's true.
National law enforcement.
Why did it take so long to arrest them? Because Romania kept fucking up the charges because the Romanian government is not exceptionally competent, and they also were compromised to an extent in this regard. And the UK was filing charges. The Tate Bros fled to America, thereby invalidating the technicalities of the charges that were being filed against them. So now in America, the UK has filed again in a way that legally authorizes their extradition from America to the United Kingdom. So they've been running from the law for a while now, like for over a decade.
Agencies as part of this complex investigation. I can now confirm that officers from the United States have arrested both Andrew and Tristan Tate in relation to this matter overnight, and they have been detained pending ongoing legal proceedings. We understand the interest that this case will generate. We would urge the public not to speculate and to allow the legal process to be carried out correctly. I want to make it clear there is no place for male violence against women and girls in our society, and we will continue to work tirelessly.
I fucking hate the language the United Kingdom uses for sexual violence, man. Like, you really don't have to specify gender here. Like, you can just say there's no room for sexual violence. There's no room for male sexual violence. Like, okay, yeah, we get, like, I don't understand. Like, it's like if it was a murder, would you be like, there's no room for black people murdering white people, if such a thing was the case? Like, I did think the murder in general is probably pretty wrong. What kind of tie is she wearing? I'm not familiar with what the name of this garment is.
To support victims and investigate all reports made to us.
Well, our correspondent Greg Mackenzie has more on those charges.
In terms of the Crown Prosecution Service, they say that Andrew Tate has been charged with 7 additional...
Women raping men's presumably fine. I mean, my understanding is that the United Kingdom still uses a phallocentric definition of rape, right? Like, in the United Kingdom, rape means to penetrate with a penis. And if, like, a woman sexually abusing a man, cis woman sexually abusing a cis man, it wouldn't count as rape unless they used, like, a foreign object or something. Yeah, legally speaking, I mean. Like, she'd have to use, like, a strap or whatever? I don't know. I think that changed recently. Did that change recently? Maybe that changed recently. It's a very outdated legal definition. Maybe it has changed recently.
Counts of rape, along with further offences including alleged sex trafficking and indecent images of a child. Now, Tristan Tate has been charged with 1 count of sexual assault.
Yeah, in UK, the legal definition of rape is when a person intentionally penetrates another with their penis without that person's consent. Yeah, at least according to, from police.uk, they use the term penetration from a penis. It is totally asymmetrical. This is from police.uk. I mean, I'm going to assume they're using the contemporary definition. It has to be a penis. So, like, yeah, pretty bad. A little bit regressive, in my opinion, but, like, maybe I'm too woke. That's not true. I am the correct amount of woke on this, I think. So what if a guy gropes a girl? Well, that would be sexual assault.
Counts of rape and 3 counts of arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation.
Greg Mackenzie. Well, the journalist and documentary filmmaker Matt Shea made the 2023 BBC film Andrew Tate, the Man Who Groomed the World. He explained what more we know about the brothers.
Andrew and Tristan Tate are sort of the leaders of what's called the manosphere, which is this kind of movement across the internet and social media that promotes this kind of hyper-masculinity, women being submissive, women being second-class citizens. They openly support these things. They also sell courses online that train young men how to, in their eyes, be better men. However, a lot of those courses also train those young men how to groom women into submission.
How surprising is this latest arrest?
Well, it's surprising because we have to remember, right, that throughout the litany of accusations against the Tate brothers, perhaps the biggest ongoing right now is the Romanian investigation into them.
High social stigma and ousting of people who partake in this shit would be nice. Yeah, for sure. I mean, in fairness, there already is a pretty big social stigma to being like a chud who listens to Andrew Tate, right? Like there's already a pretty high social penalty to this. It's just for the most part, these are people who already have no social lives. Socially successful people are not like going to high class parties talking about Andrew Tate. You know, Andrew and Tristan Tate, I guarantee you, act differently when they don't have cameras on them either. Like I said, it's postmodern. It's totally out of line with reality. It's not meant to be like a real way of living. I think a good comparison to it would be kind of like they are advocating for a worldview and a lifestyle similar to what those fake guru monks used to be popular for doing. Those people who would say they're 200 years old and every day they would eat like one apple or whatever. There was it's less common now because people are more educated on the subject, I think, but there's always been like a grift market for fake spiritual gurus who pretend they have superhuman abilities because they live like a devout life, a monastic life or whatever. And yeah, I'm sure it's still popular in India or whatever, or China. Probably like rural areas, people fall for it. But like they advocate for lifestyles that they know are impossible. When they say you can achieve my level of divinity if you eat one apple a day, they know they're lying. They eat food, and they know anyone who tries to do this will die. But no one actually does do it. But people will still pretend they're doing it, or at least pretend that the guru is doing it, because it's not meant to align with reality. It's like a social manipulation scheme that compels compliance and adherence from people who know that it's not true. Likewise, you know, Andrew and Tristan Tate don't actually live the lives they claim they do, and the people who follow them don't actually want a homosocial life. They want to be around women. Everyone wants to be around women. They're literally like cute and like funny sometimes. So it's made up, you know?
So there are two indictments in Romania. There's one from 2023, which alleges both Andrew and Tristan Tate formed an organized criminal group and did human trafficking and were guilty of rape as well. And a newer investigation involving additional allegations, including trafficking of a minor, sex with a minor, money laundering, witness tampering, and the list goes on. Now, the Tate brothers deny all of these allegations, but that investigation is underway in Romania, and the agreement that the UK had with the Romanian authorities was that they would wait for
I'll never understand the point of movements whose goal is not to succeed. The point of every movement we're referring to right now, from those fake gurus to Andrew and Tristan Tate, is to make money for the person who is lying. That is it. That is the only point of it. They have made lots of money. Those gurus make lots of money. That's it. That's the only reason any of these exist. The whole like ideological subset, this like these lifestyles that are not meant to be followed or adhered to, it's just to make the guy on top money. That's it. Unisegment? Not a unisegment. This has nothing to do with financialization. This goes back way before capitalism.
For that investigation to complete and any sentencing to complete before.
But if even the followers don't believe in it or want it, then what's the point? Well, for the case of like Andrew and Tristan Tate, the idea would be being pitched an ideology to make you feel like less of a loser for not being able to pull women. If you are unfuckable, if you're a massive loser and you're ugly and you smell and you can't spend time with women, you want a guy to convince you that actually you're not missing out on anything. It's sour grapes, right? Oh, who wants to be around women anyway? They're literally low IQ dogs that drag down your personal growth as an alpha male. So now you feel less bad about it. Maybe. Likewise, I imagine one of the big pulls of those spiritual gurus is a feeling of supremacy over other people. This is how cults typically pitch themselves to people. The idea that they can let you in on secret knowledge, esoteric information that those normies you have for neighbors aren't privy to. Therefore, you get to hold like a secret, like extra card against them in your heart whenever you interact with them. So you pretend to believe that a spiritual leader can survive off of only one apple a day, and you act like people who don't believe it are just uninitiated, or they're disbelievers, or they're whatever, they're weak in some way. You also don't believe it, but you don't believe it in a different, distinct way that makes you better than the other people who don't believe it. Listen, humans are complicated. The idea that humans are just innately driven towards conclusions that they know are truthful is not true. Not even a little bit. Ideologies succeed or fail because they are good at, or not good at if they fail, appealing to pre-existing biases in people. Everything comes down to that. Political ideology, religion, spirituality, everything is just about providing people information that conforms to or challenges existing priors they have. Their beliefs that they're better than other people, or maybe that other people are better than them. Their idea that they're very beautiful, or maybe very ugly. The idea that they're smart or stupid. People will gravitate towards ideologies that give them compelling narratives to describe the feelings that they already have. It's very difficult to get people to change their priors. You know what I mean? A good example of this is like inceldom, right? A lot of the general prescriptions that incel or the black pill or whatever suggests are insane. Nobody actually believes this crap, right? The idea that women are like a separate species and hypergamy is real and no ugly man has ever gotten laid, it's ridiculous. Like, there are genuinely people online who act as though they believe that normal-looking guys have never gotten laid or been in good relationships. This is ridiculous. No one actually believes this. However, if you already have low self-esteem, the incel ideology might conform to your existing biases, your priors, and give you a narrative to explain it. And that satisfaction, the idea that the narrative explains your feelings, is greater. Like, it's a higher priority in your brain than trying to tell the truth. You would rather have a narrative to go along with your feelings than you would have like an accurate understanding of the world, even if that accurate understanding would make you happier. People are very vulnerable to their priors. Very, very vulnerable.
The Tates were then extradited to the UK from Romania. So this has been a bit of a shock because it's changed that, and presumably that's because of this new evidence, in which the CPS is actually alleging now, in addition to the charges of sexual aggression, of rape, and of physical.
It's a very modern problem because of social isolation. It's not a modern problem, but it is getting worse now because the internet makes it easier for you to fall into narratives that are easily contradicted by reality. See, another big social pull on people is the idea that, like, there are consequences to being a fuckwit publicly. But if you never go outside and you're just on the internet, it's pretty easy to fall into, like, echo chambers where you don't feel that social pull. The incel ideology could never propagate in real life because it's embarrassing to talk about in real life. Nobody out there is going to like write manifestos and express fucking polemics on how an average looking man is incapable of finding a good wife or whatever, because A, it's contradicted by reality everywhere, and B, no one's going to sit around and listen to that shit. But on online forums where you can like sort of drop the barrier of shame and just engage with it directly, like in its raw, unfiltered form, now it can propagate. Another reason why the internet shouldn't exist. Thank you.
Abuse that Tate was already facing in the UK, that there are now additional crimes being investigated, which include indecent images of a child, extreme pornography, and so forth, all of which they deny.
Matt, you talked about that manosphere and the sort of toxic masculinity a little earlier. That was very much in play in that Netflix series Adolescence, which seemed...
If juggalos can get laid, anyone can. You attempt to make a point, but you express your own susceptibility to these narratives. Juggalos get laid more than other groups because they belong to a high-energy social in-group that has strong internal ties. You act as though a juggalo is like a debuff when it comes to getting laid. It's actually a massive buff. Being part of a pro-social group does that for you. So you've betrayed your own ignorance on the subject. It's like saying, I don't know, oh, like theater kids never get laid. Everyone knows theater kids get laid all the time with other theater kids. The idea is that they might be kind of like losers a little bit. No hate, it's fine. I have lots of theater kid friends. But they are extremely, we'll say, prolific in their own social groups. Historically, this is how human society functions, by the way. There's nothing wrong with this. The band kids might be nerds, but they hang out with the other band kids. This is social parody. This is how it's supposed to work. Yeah, you get me.
To really encapsulate that and highlight that kind of those kinds of values. And I suppose that in some ways the Tates are seen as a sort of fear factor or for parents really of young boys around the world who are trying to counter those kinds of influences.
If juggalos can get laid, why can't I? Because they're part of a high energy social group and you aren't. That's literally it. Juggalos might look ridiculous from the outside, but they have deep passions. They often express themselves very like robustly and very in a friendly manner with each other, and they self-select for social interactions with groups of people who already have an interest that they share. You, on the other hand, are currently in the chat of a private website owned by a YouTube live streamer who does politic coverage. So, like, you have to go and talk to people.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the Tate brothers promote in a kind of bombastic, shock jock way these hyper masculine views and these kind of jokes about women being submissive. But they also sell a course in which they teach you how to groom women. And the kind of charges that they're now facing, both in Romania and now in the UK, relate to a specific type of grooming and manipulation that they literally teach in the courses that they sell to young people. So it's not just that they are alleged to be radicalizing young men into misogyny, but they are actually teaching.
Fascinating. Last coverage. See the American side of things.
Turning now to the new charges against controversial manosphere influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate. The brothers were arrested by federal officials in Miami yesterday after British authorities issued 38 new charges against them, including rape and human trafficking.
Also worth noting, juggalo culture promotes promiscuous sex, heavy drinking, drugs, and mass social events. So yeah, being a juggalo is literally about having casual sex. You know what other social group historically promoted all of those things to the best of their ability? Medieval Europeans. Outside of the cities and the aristocrats who all had to keep their legs closed because the consequence of being frivolous was like death or social exile, by and large, peasants all across the world have been like that. Like, medieval peasants were drinking and fucking all the time, and it found endless excuses for mass social events every time they could. All across the world, different cultures, different people, different time periods. The peasantry have always been like, well, today's like the fucking somebody in the village is having a wedding, and then everyone gets together and drinks and fucks. All I'm saying is, like, you know, you got to interact with people. The top G hoodie's embarrassing. Like I said, homosociality.
Their lawyer says they're innocent and is calling the charges a, quote, political hit. Now, Andrew and Tristan Tate are awaiting extradition to the UK. Andrew Dimberg has the latest.
Andrew and Tristan Tate are back in custody. The controversial social media influencers were arrested Saturday night in Miami after British prosecutors announced a sweeping new case against the brothers and said they will seek their extradition to the UK. Prosecutors say the new indictment includes dozens of charges, including rape.
19 charges related to child and extreme pornography. Goddamn. They're probably going down for this. I doubt the UK is going to fumble it. Would you ever dress as a juggalo? No. Another reason why juggalos get down so much is because they're one of the only remaining aesthetic subculture that's not filled up with LARPers. It used to be, as recently as like the 1990s, basically before the internet and the commodification of every aesthetic subculture, if you went outside and you saw a person dressed like a punk, they probably were a punk. Like, they would go to punk shows, they would occupy like a relatively specific range of political and social ideologies. There were certain guarantees you could have to their behavior, their personality, their interests. But nowadays, people are just like, that's a good look, and they dress that way. You'll have people who dress like gods, but don't really like care about the broader culture. It's one of the reasons why we have kind of like, I'd say a learned rejection of people wearing clothes that are obviously not of the culture they're from. A good example of this being seeing an older businessman dressed like in a goth or punk outfit for Halloween, or a Westerner dressed in Eastern garb. We look at it and we think, that's performative. It might not be, by the way. Like, there's no reason an older businessman can't be punk, and there's no reason a Westerner can't be, like, you know, fucking Yasuke. If Yasuke can wear a kimono, then a white man can too, okay? We're both equally not Japanese. It is often quite racist, but I'm talking about the fact that, like, we perceive an inauthenticity. Nowadays, aesthetic subcultures are extremely inauthentic. If you go over to New York City, you will see like 1 million people who are dressed in like this beautiful range of like cultural like expressions, like they represent a bunch of different cultures, but then you talk to them and they're all like the same person, basically. Like, their interest is purely aesthetic. You know what I mean? Basically what I'm saying is that people would have a lot more sex if they were capable of finding sub-communities of people who actually agree with them and have shared interests. But in order for us to do that, we have to like go out and meet people on their terms. Go join some book clubs, you know? I think social media ruins subcultures. Yes, that is true. Is it wrong to wear stuff from a subculture you're not a part of? No, not at all. But it is the reason why there aren't those subcultures anymore. Unfortunately, it's kind of like, it's just like a subcategory of cultural appropriation. It's not a moral designator. It's just a byproduct of modernity. Globalization made it inevitable. You know, if you go over to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, you see people wearing t-shirts. It's not like they're all wearing, you know, local garb or whatever. Modernity and globalization basically guarantees that culture becomes ephemeral, indistinct, and aesthetically indistinguishable. So the best thing that you can do is try to find people who belong to your subgroups anyway, in spite of the aesthetic blending. But I don't think you're morally wrong for doing it or whatever. I want to see a Congo goth. I bet at least one is out there. There are probably hundreds of thousands. I would not be surprised if there were hundreds of thousands, or at least tens of thousands. People everywhere are fundamentally the same. Everyone wants goth baddies. Another thing you need to be able to accept is that life is not inherently fair. Some people just need to put in more effort into socializing than others. Absolutely, yeah. I think you're a bitch if you complain about that too, because you accept that life isn't inherently fair in every other skill. Like, you don't expect everyone to be equally good at tennis, you know? Just try your best. For the vast majority of people, like 99.99% of people, even like a moderate amount of effort and a bit of practice and socializing will be enough for you to find friends and happiness. Most of you aren't even trying. And by you, I mean you guys specifically, because I want people to feel called out in the audience. Like, you cannot bemoan your social status and your friends and the opportunities that you have with you when you put in like no effort, and a lot of people put in no effort. You can just go online, like events near me. Go to a dang music show. Go to a music show and talk to people outside the venue, like after the show exits or whatever. Literally, like go, maybe you don't even have to pay for the ticket. Just go outside after the show's done and be like, oh, I was just walking by. What was this show for? You can pick up convos so easy like this, man. It's so easy to talk to people. Go to a trivia night at a bar. Don't even buy anything, you know? Literally, just do stuff. Just go outside. It's fine. Don't want to go alone? Skill issue. There's literally nothing wrong with doing something on your own. The idea that it is mental illness. Like going to a restaurant or a bar on your own, how is this bad? How many stories have you read or like movies you've seen where the protagonist goes into a bar alone and they're cool as hell? Like, they go to a diner alone, they go to the bar and they order a coffee and they chat up the waitress or whatever. This is like a cornerstone of American culture. You think it's lame? Just do it. I don't want to get raped. You're not going to get raped going outside on your own. I'm sorry. I'm not falling into this level of like this degree of hysteria. That's not. Your fear of the world is going to cause you a lot of harm here, okay? Like, obviously engage in whatever protective practices you feel are necessary, but the idea that you can't go to a bar on your own because you'll get raped is, in my opinion, like, this is a very, very self-defeating. Like, I think you're harming yourself if that's like your immediate response. You know what I mean? Also, going to the bar and shit just costs money. Dog, I literally just said multiple things that you can do that don't cost money. Going to a music venue after the show exits, or going to trivia night at a bar. Unless they have an entry fee at the bar, you can just sit down and like do trivia. You can just answer questions. There's probably tonight, it's Saturday where I am. Tonight, you can literally, like, there are probably multiple bars in your area that are doing some kind of event that you could access for free. It's Sunday? Oh, fuck, it's Sunday. Fuck, I'm a live streamer. Totally disconnected from the real world, this guy. It's Sunday. That's even more the case. Sunday's also a party day, okay? Used to go to my local bar with a book in the late afternoon, was able to strike up good convos. Let it just go to the bar. Talk to the bartender. Half of the job, 90% of the job even, of being a bartender is talking to the people at the bar, you know? Go find a bartender you like, you know? Maybe it's like a nice, cute lady or whatever. Just talk. You don't have to fucking flirt or whatever. Just talk. Yeah, go to a World Cup viewing party. There's like 50 of them across Seattle. Yeah, you get me. Go to an ICP concert, stream it. True. There's like a gnat in here. There's one gnat. I don't want to like try to go after it right now. My problem is that usually I can't keep up the social energy to maintain a friendship sometimes. Like, I go out alone, get exhausted, and imagine having to do that every week and never exchange socials. Okay, but like, once you make a friend, it gets easier. Like, yeah, going out and meeting new people is way more tiring than having a friend and like seeing them again. What you're describing sounds to me like depression. Like, you're saying that you lack the intrinsic will and motivation to engage in the baseline social interactions that have kept the species afloat for its entire existence, which is like, you know, that sounds like depression. I'm not judging you. I'm not saying like, oh, skill issue, like depression sucks or whatever. I mean, I guess everything's a skill issue, right? Just dodge the depression bullet, Lamau. But like, you know, it's still a process, right? Soul level 1 Dark Souls is a skill issue, but that doesn't mean it's not hard. If a person fucking died in Soul level 1 Dark Souls, I wouldn't be like, oh, you suck. I'd be like, yep, it's really tough, but you got to try your best. If you're not having fun, it feels like work. You want to know the real red pill? Absolutely everything worth doing will feel like work sometimes, and if you only do it when it doesn't feel like work, you're never going to go anywhere. Every hobby, talent, passion, friendship, all of them sometimes will be work. The closest love of your life, the person with whom you have the strongest possible bond, will sometimes demand of you lots of work. Raising children is a lot of fucking work. Everything worth doing sometimes is work. There will never be a pursuit that is so effortless that every time you engage in it, it's like a frivolity. That's life, you know? You have to learn to love work, or at least some types of work, or if you can't love it, at the very least, like, learn how to engage with it in a positive and constructive manner, you know? Yeah, relationships are a lot of work, 100%, absolutely. I'm still not going to a fucking bar alone, Vosh. There's a reason there's a culture of women going together. Oh my god. Okay, it doesn't have to be a bar. It can be a bookstore. It can be a cafe. Are you afraid of going to a cafe alone? I've been on the internet long enough to know what kinds of concerns are driven by like real, like, you know what I'm saying. I'm not telling you to go to a dive bar at 11 p.m. on your own and then say like, I'll have one drink, and then when the drink lands on the bar, you turn around and go to the bathroom and then come back and drink the drink. Like, I'm not like, don't be uncharitable to my point here, okay? What I'm saying is that there's nothing wrong with going to events on your own, you know? Go to a cafe at noon or something. Or go to a cafe early, like an 8 a.m. cafe, you know? Meet with some of those people, you know, doing the morning runs or whatever. That'll do you. Get you a bit of... Exercising early in the morning in cities is a phenomenal way of socializing with people too, because everyone else is like... It's like a secret covenant. If you're capable of going outside at like 7:30 in the morning and doing a little jog, everyone's like... They have like secret handshakes and stuff. I'm not part of this group. I just know it's real. But they all like, yeah. They're all, you know... You go to like a game store, like a tabletop gaming store. There's a place called Mox. There's a few locations in Seattle. It's like a combo restaurant tabletop game store / play area. Like they have the games, and then they have the places you play the games, and then you have the restaurant, and you can rent board games to play while you're at the restaurant. So everyone can get like burgers and get like fucking Settlers of Catan there or whatever. Great place to socialize. I know that because every time I go there, somebody fucking recognizes me. That sounds so unhygienic. Well, so's life, you know? Wish I didn't live in the most boring town in the state ranked for the past 20 years. In fairness, just remember, it does not get named the most boring town in the state unless other people in that town are dissatisfied with how boring it is. You can find them. Like, the real most boring town in the state is probably an unincorporated territory with 8 people in it or whatever, right? Because no one there cares because they're all busy fucking their daughters. You live in an area where the boringness is noteworthy enough for people to draw attention to it, which means other people agree, which means there are people in your area who probably also wish there was something interesting to do, which means that you can find them. No, it's a neo-Nazi enclave. Okay, well, not everyone there is a neo-Nazi. We need to bring back drinking. Y'all sound miserable. It is true that getting a little bit drunk makes the initial socializing stuff a lot easier. Like, for all of human history, everyone's acknowledged this. It's like the number one thing alcohol is for, the social lubricant effect, exactly. You know, I'm not saying you have to get plastered or whatever, but it does help, and you're not, like, weak for doing it. There's nothing wrong with it. I've done it many times. You go to a social event, you don't really know that many people, have a drink, now you're a little buzzed or whatever. I love being an addict. That's not being an addict. I'm sorry, that's not being an addict. I'm pretty straight edge, but we don't need to do like Gen Z purity culture here, okay? It's okay to have N drink, N parentheses 1 drink, to fucking socialize with people. I hate how Gen Z are so Puritan. It's like how Andrew Tate sells an ideology where it's okay that you can't get chicks because chicks suck anyway. They're like, here's my ideology for why nobody should ever drink, and it's because they're never going out to social events anyway. Like, yeah, no shit, drinking has negative fucking connotations to you. You don't go outside. For you, drinking is like getting a gigantic Absolute vodka bottle and mixing it with like lemon juice in your house and then drinking it and staring at the computer. Like, the alcohol is supposed to be consumed. God intends alcohol to be consumed at a 500% markup adjacent to social interactions with people you're not familiar with. That is why God invented alcohol. God invented the process of fermentation so that we could socialize more easily. And that's fine.